for years prior continuously saying, I'm going to kill fracking, we're going to kill the oil and gas industry. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks ago, because she is literally magically placed to run for president. And I want to let that sink in again to all of y'all out there in Great Britain and beyond that watch this. This lady was not even given one vote to run for president of the United States on the Democratic ticket. Half of America is okay with this lady not getting one vote to run for president of the United States. So that's something else that's very concerning. But basically, again, this lady for years has always been anti-fracking, anti-oil. And just because she is now running for president, she's going to sit here and say that. That's hogwash, because her predecessor, President Biden, also said the same thing and went after oil and gas heavy on day one.
What did Joe do on his first few days as president? Well, besides axing a whole lot of border policies that Donald Trump put in place, he also killed the Keystone Pipeline. The president was also to blame for new fracking contracts being paused. I'm pretty sure Pennsylvanians loved that, didn't they? Strong sarcasm, of course. But supporters of Joe Biden claim that he wasn't to blame for gas prices skyrocketing during his term. And all of these things did not contribute to the red-hot inflation that we've been feeling for the past 3.5 years. Nope. Joe had nothing to do with that. And guys, before we get started, just want to say thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. Let's get started. So Vice President Kamala Harris has echoed Joe Biden's statements in the past where he says that he's not going to ban fracking. But it's kind of hard for us to believe given that her statements released regarding these issues have been on the contrary. Banning fracking would lead to thousands of jobs being lost. Pennsylvanians would be devastated. And it's kind of funny because some within mainstream media are completely shocked whenever they're given the truth about the VP.
Election going on now. I hate to bring this up, but you support your union guy. Vice President Harris supports the strike, she said. She wanted to know how many folks support Vice President Harris. Any hands? No hands.
Wow.
Okay.
The topic of fracking is crucial for both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And while Donald Trump hasn't changed his mind regarding values, Kamala Harris has switched sides to try to pander to voters. In an interview that's probably being censored as we speak, Kamala Harris has been confronted about her stance on fracking. Check this out.
Well, Madam Vice President, I don't have to tell you how important natural gas is to this region. It's how we heat our homes and our factories in this region. It's very plentiful and cheaper than oil. And we extract natural gas through fracking. So I wanted to ask you, there's a political ad on TV from a 2019 Climate Hall town meeting that you had, in which you basically said, quote, "There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking," unquote. The ad claims that if you're elected president, you will ban fracking and you will cost Pennsylvania over 300,000 jobs. Have you changed your view on fracking? And if so, why?
So let me start by saying that ad, as you described it, is absolutely a mischaracterization that I think is intended to make people afraid of my presidency. And let me be absolutely clear, as I've been when I said it back in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, I cast the tie-breaking vote to open up more fracking leases. And my perspective on this is grounded in a number of things, including that we don't have to ban fracking to do the work that we can do to also invest in a clean energy economy. So that's where I stand, period. As President of the United States, I will not ban fracking. I did not as Vice President of the United States. And frankly, I think some of those ads are misleading intentionally to suggest to folks that they should be afraid, because on the other side, what you've got in my opponent is somebody who could and has not really done much about lifting up the middle class.
All right, so here's the tricky part, guys. She keeps saying that she's not going to ban fracking, and yet she provides no explanation for her flip-flopping. I guess it would be detrimental for her campaign if she admitted, hey, I'm just saying this so that you guys vote for me. I mean, that's the truth, right? But at this point, any explanation would be better than just staying quiet about it. And what is this ad that Kamala Harris has dubbed as her mischaracterization of her stand?
Harris will ban all fracking.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
That will immediately put tens of thousands of Pennsylvanians out of work and send utility bills skyrocketing.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Trump will protect clean energy fracking and protect the jobs it creates.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Vice President Kamala Harris continues to try to convince us that Donald Trump is the one that's lying here. You guys believe her? Towards the end of July this year, the Harris campaign responded to her comments back when she was running for president. In a statement, they said Donald Trump's false claims about fracking bans are an obvious attempt to distract from his own plans to enrich oil and gas executives at the expense of the middle class. Do you guys buy that? And it's bad enough that she's having to explain herself in interviews with the election coming right up. But even CNN is out here fact-checking her in her own words.
Fact check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. Here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes.
So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view.
That was CNN, guys. And this is where politics come into play. She deliberately said that it was Joe Biden who wouldn't ban fracking. So she could pretty much tell us anything that she wants while she's running for president, but her track record reeks of deception and lies. Because, guys, she's time and time again failed to explain what she's been mischaracterized here. These are her own words. Her problem lies with the voter base that she's trying to pander to. She's literally trying to convince each side that she will do what they want with regard to fracking. And since Pennsylvania is a key swing state to winning, she's leaning more towards them. But if she wins, she doesn't completely close out the possibility of a ban because she could just come back to her previous statements on it. And this opens up a whole can of worms because she's indirectly telling us that we just can't trust her, that her words are not set in stone, and that she doesn't need to explain herself if ever she changes her mind. Can you trust somebody like that? And here's the worst part of the entire interview. Harris was called out for making all these amazing promises in her campaign, despite the fact that she's the current vice president to Joe Biden right now.
Trump says that you've had 4 years as vice president to do all the things you've promised in the campaign, but haven't done it. Is he right, or did President Biden not give you or limit it in some way your role as vice president?
So let's start with this. I think that the former president is really becoming quite desperate and has really been offering a lot of misstatements and misinformation. And perhaps it's because he wants to distract from the fact that he has offered no plan for the American people. I have talked about this before. I invite you to go to his rallies, and what you'll hear about full time is him talking about himself and his personal grievances, but what you won't hear him talking about is you and the needs that you have as a working person, as a family person. My plan is about building an opportunity economy where I'm going to give first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance so they can get their foot in the door to be able to be a homeowner. My plan is about $6,000 tax deduction for middle-class families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a crib or a car seat. My plan is about getting a $50,000 tax deduction to start up businesses, to our small businesses, knowing that they are part of the backbone of America's economy.
So here's my question to you guys as voters. Do you trust that she's going to pull through with what she's saying, despite not knowing who's going to be paying for all these different promises? You know, what's crazy is I used to think I could do it on my own, all by myself. But after years of spinning my wheels, I realized something was missing. It wasn't more hustle or more effort. It was the right people. Then all of a sudden, one day, I connected with somebody who had already achieved the success that I was actually striving for. And suddenly, everything changed. That's the power of your network. Inside the Life Pursuit Network, you'll find people who have been exactly where you are now and have risen to the top. They've already learned lessons and they've paved the way, and now they're ready to help you do the same. Join us right now. Click the link down below and unlock the potential of a powerful network of people that can change your life. But act fast because spots are limited.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, you know, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home.
Whoever's writing these answers for Kamala needs to be fired on the spot, because you would think that she'd have something else prepared for us, given that this is a big interview, but she's still repeating herself like a broken record, which kind of goes to show that she's completely clueless as to what the heck she's actually talking about. Now, again, this is the very first question, and she's already used dreams, ambition, aspirations, and the whole middle class story, which is essentially a majority of what she says in all of her interviews since she was nominated by her party, aka installed. Talk about an opportunity economy. This is what the president looks like. And if Kamala Harris is voted in as president, expect it to become the future. And don't look now, because she's now doing interviews by herself. No training wheels, guys. But of course, she does go on MSNBC so she could be handed softball questions. Now, what's really weird is that this interview, it really didn't go well. In fact, she looks so dull compared to her sharpness in the debate against Donald Trump. Now, you gotta wonder why her team wasn't able to prepare her more for Stephanie Ruhle, especially when they should have expected the first question to be about the economy. It's kind of like they're committed to pulling him into all these different conversations just to try to make the guy look bad. We gotta make Donald Trump the bad guy. That's what they're all being told to do. But the problem is that even those within the black community aren't all that convinced that Kamala Harris is even black. And Janet Jackson is involved in these conversations where she herself is not convinced that Kamala Harris is what she says she is. I'm not sure why they don't get this, and why they feel as if they need to blame Donald Trump for everything. Although I get that they want voters to think Trump's a racist.
Why do they like you better than any other Republican in modern time?
Well, you have to ask the other Republicans.
I mean, I'm just saying, you see black support going up with you, Hispanic, young people. Like I said, the people look more like me than you, and they say you're different. Why?
Because I did things in office that nobody else has done. Criminal justice reform. I did criminal justice reform at a level that nobody thought was possible to get. And I did that largely for the black and Hispanic community. They're the ones that wanted it. Opportunity zones with Tim Scott. And he was so much in favor of it. And it's probably maybe the best economic development package ever for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans. We did a lot of things that people couldn't believe we were able to get done.
They also want to set this narrative that voting for Kamala Harris would give us the first black woman president. Does anyone think that John Fetterman's just a complete idiot? Pennsylvania, this is your senator, and he doesn't believe that fracking is an issue in your state at all, even with 86% of residents in the state saying that fracking was good for the economy. And the poll was taken back in 2022. How much more of a difference would that make in 2024 when more people are struggling with the cost of living? Now, the same survey also found that almost half of the state is in favor of continuing the practice. practice. And here's what's really funny about this, guys. Fetterman himself has also contradicted himself when it comes to fracking. In 2016, he called it a stain on their state. By 2018, he stood firm and said that he doesn't support it at all. By 2022, he says that he absolutely supports fracking. Now, I want you guys to realize that Nate Silver is voting for Kamala Harris. And even he's saying that it's highly probable that Donald Trump wins it all. This is because he's doing it by the numbers. He has also openly admitted that Kamala Harris did not get a bump off the DNC. He also said that the VP has been declining in polls over the past couple of weeks, notably in swing states. Not a good sign for Kamala Harris. And this is especially not good news for the Harris campaign because that would effectively give Donald Trump the presidency. Now, what's really shocking here is that Nate is getting attacked on his X account for revealing these numbers. One post that best described the situation said that Democrats love Nate Silver when he says a Democrat is winning, and they hate Nate Silver when he says that a Democrat is losing.
We got now, Congressman Dan Muser, Republican from the great state of Pennsylvania. Congressman, I think you represent the fracking patch, the nat gas fracking patch in Pennsylvania. 4 years ago, Fetterman opposed fracking. Now he says he's okay with it. Do you believe him?
Yeah. Well, no, Fetterman is not telling the fracking truth, right? We have to watch with these guys, not what they say, but what they do, because they're pretty much willing to say anything. I mean, he called the natural gas in Pennsylvania a stain on the Commonwealth. He's been particularly against it. Most Democrats are.
Have they noticed that their polls go up whenever they lie to the American people? But there is a downside to the sugar high, especially when people start to realize that you're just full of it. All of the flip-flopping has just caused Donald Trump's polls to skyrocket. At the moment of this video, the former president is now leading in 3 Sun Belt battleground states. He's also within striking distance of all other swing states within the margin of error. And as he's shown in previous election, he overperforms and typically beats out the polls. Remember, the polls are this close, even with Kamala Harris being handed all the advantages on a golden plate. Look at this, a 5-point lead for Donald Trump in Arizona, 4 points in Georgia, and 2 points in North Carolina. Voters from all 3 states described their lives under Donald Trump to be better, with worry that keeping Kamala Harris in office would not yield the same results. It's also worth noting that Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden in Arizona and Georgia back in 2020, which could mean that the Kamala Harris campaign is internally screaming at the moment, especially when you consider the polls that are coming out just weeks before the 2024 presidential election. Now, besides Michigan, Harris holds no advantage over Trump, which makes sense of what the Democratic Party is doing right now. They're just trying to bait Donald Trump into another rigged debate because Kamala Harris and ABC News just couldn't close the deal with the first debate. They're resorting to calling Donald Trump a chicken when Kamala Harris won't even agree to debate on Fox News. And this tells you exactly what's happening internally within her campaign. The panic is certainly setting in, and all these different poll numbers that continue to come out just kind of makes things that much worse. Now, in terms of trust, 54% trust Donald Trump with the border compared to a measly 33% for Kamala Harris. Now, speaking of which, it looks like more voters believe Donald Trump when it comes to campaign promises. Guys, I did a previous live stream where I talked about how voters felt during his term. Black voters are now speaking up about their voices heard as they say that Donald Trump is the key to solving our problems. Do you agree with them? Make sure you guys watch that video right after this one. Just click on my channel, hit the videos tab or the live tab. Check that video out next. As always, guys, appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel and sharing these videos. You guys are amazing. I'll see y'all next time.